Zelenskyy warns Russia keeps finding ways to sneak around sanctions. Whose chips are in Russian drones? Meanwhile, Ukraine's drone strikes hit new highs and weapon exports are about to take off. Here's the latest, so you will be in focus. Subscribe and stay tuned. Zelenskyy calls on European countries to stop all the ways Russia uses to bypass sanctions. He says Russia uses every such scheme to keep killing. According to the head of state, imported chips and microcircuits are found every day in the drones and missiles that the aggressor country uses to attack Ukraine. Our correspondent will explain in more detail who supplies these components to Russia.
500 drones used by Russia to attack Ukrainian territory on the night of October 5th contained over 100,000 foreign components, stated Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. According to him, a single Russian Kinzhal missile includes 96 foreign-made components. These components come from manufacturers in the United States, China, Taiwan, the United Kingdom, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, South Korea, and the Netherlands.
Every Russian missile, every Russian strike drone contains, among other things, components still being supplied to Russia from Western countries and various countries near Russia. Now, in the fourth year of the full-scale war, it is simply astonishing to hear that someone supposedly doesn't know how to stop the supply of critical components.
According to experts, the aggressor country constantly modifies its weaponry, so the same types of weapons may contain different components over time, depending on availability. In September 2025, Vladislav Vlachuk, Ukraine's presidential envoy for sanctions policy, published a list of companies whose products were found in an Iskander cruise missile that struck the Ukrainian cabinet of ministers building.
A similar analyzed fresh Iskander contains approximately 35 components of American origin, 1 Japanese, 1 British, 1 Swiss, 5 Belarusian, and 57 Russian. Compared to missiles from previous years, there are fewer components from Europe and the US, and more from Russia and Belarus. All information was provided to partners for sanctions response. Vladislav Vlachuk, Ukraine's presidential commissioner for sanctions policy, on Facebook.
Additionally, components are also supplied by New Delhi. In August 2025, Kyiv officially approached the governments of India and the European Union regarding the discovery of Indian-made electronic components in Iranian Shahed drones. Manufacturers claim the components could have reached Russia indirectly through Iran or other Middle Eastern countries.
India strictly prohibits the export of dual-use items to sanctioned destinations. However, once such goods are exported to legitimate third countries, tracing their end use becomes nearly impossible, a challenge every open economy faces. Exporters must be better informed about high-risk geographies and flagged entities. But no system, however rigorous, can guarantee full control once goods leave Indian borders. Ajay Shrivastava, founder of the Global Trade Research Initiative, in a comment to Hindustan Times.
To make restrictions more effective, they need to be detailed down to personal sanctions against company executives, stated Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The aggressor country heavily relies on imports of high-tech components, and if Ukraine's partners can disrupt these flows, the production of certain types of Russian weapons will decline. Finding new ways to bypass sanctions requires rapid sanctions responses from Ukraine's partners, experts say.
Quite often, these are schemes involving 5 or 6 intermediaries. It's important to understand where these components come from and to take swift action to cut off these flows, especially since there are already precedents in Europe where directors and company owners face criminal liability for violating sanctions. This is a crucial point because finding someone is one thing, but it's another when specific individuals receive actual prison sentences for violating these widely accepted European obligations.
Despite its declared neutrality, China is one of the most active suppliers of high-tech products to Russia. According to a Bloomberg investigation, several Chinese civilian enterprises supply both dual-use components and finished drones. Reported by Andriy Dmitrenko, UATV News.
The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky, stated that in September 2025, Ukrainian unmanned aerial systems struck 66,500 enemy targets, which is almost 11% more than in August. According to him, nearly 40,000 of these strikes were carried out by kamikaze drones. By the end of the year, Kyiv will open platforms for exporting weapons to the EU, USA, and the Middle East. This was announced by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the International Defense Industry Forum. Ukraine has increased the capacity of its defense industry by tens of times. Now it's time to sell the weapons that Ukraine has extra of. What weapons can Ukraine be proud of? And what might interest partners in our next report?
Since the start of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine has been able to turn its military-industrial complex into a powerful and flexible system, capable not only of adapting, but also of increasing production rates. Despite shelling, logistics, and funding problems, new enterprises are launching in the country, and existing ones are constantly being modernized. As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy emphasized, currently on the front, almost 40% of weapons are products created in Ukraine, and by the end of the year, the task is set to increase this indicator to 50%. Ukraine has been able to quickly and efficiently establish artillery production. This year, almost 2.5 million mortar and artillery munitions of various calibers were supplied to the front. Production of the renowned Bogdana self-propelled artillery units has been increased to 40 per month. As for drones, Ukraine has no equals in their production and use.
Ukrainian strike drones, there are a lot of them. Lutyi, Firepoint, Shark, Bober, and others. They work, and they work very successfully. You see how we do it. Ukrainians supply the front with the necessary types of drones, and these are colossal production volumes and colossal supply volumes, from conventional FPV drones to ground robotic complexes.
Moreover, Ukraine has proven its ability to develop modern missile systems. These played a key role in destroying several Russian military ships, including the Black Sea Fleet's flagship, the missile cruiser Moskva. Now, Kyiv is moving toward the next strategic phase, developing effective ballistic missiles. Volodymyr Zelenskyy stressed that the cost of the war for the Kremlin must become unacceptable.
We have repeatedly used Neptunes, our cruise missiles, with success. There will come a time when we can effectively use our ballistic missiles as well. This is one of the key tasks for the state, all enterprises, and those responsible for Ukraine's missile program. Our own effective ballistics is one of the guarantees of security.
Citing its sources, The Economist reports that Ukraine has already begun using Flamingo cruise missiles, which can fly just 50 meters above the ground. These missiles have a range exceeding 3,000 kilometers and possess immense destructive power due to a 1,150-kilogram warhead. Experts note that if Flamingo can penetrate Russian air defenses, it will elevate Ukraine's deep strike campaign to a new level of destructive capability.
Ukraine plans to scale up production of its long-range FP-5 Flamingo missiles, which have likely already been used to strike Russia. Currently, 2 to 3 missiles are produced daily, with plans to increase this to 7 per day by the end of the month. Each Flamingo missile costs around $500,000. For comparison, the American Tomahawk missile is approximately 4 times more expensive, yet it has a shorter range and carries a significantly smaller payload, from a publication by The Economist.
Ukraine's defense industry has also demonstrated to the world its ability to produce entirely new types of weapons. For example, the Palianitsia drone combines the speed of a missile with the precision of a strike UAV. Its turbojet engine enables it to travel hundreds of kilometers at high speed, making it nearly invulnerable to air defenses. With its range and power, Palianitsia can strike airfields and depots deep in enemy territory.
Let's be clear, missile drones like Palianitsia are also cruise missiles. Very simple cruise missiles built on, let's say, the most basic technological foundation. And yet it's about quantity, efficiency, and quality.
In 2026, Ukraine's potential in drone and missile production is projected to reach $35 billion. This was stated by Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the International Defense Industries Forum. He also tasked the government with developing key elements of a weapons export program, currently codenamed Zabroya.
Agreements have already been reached to establish export-import platforms in Europe, the United States, and the Middle East. The task is to launch these key platforms by the end of the year. We expect that opening exports, establishing new joint ventures, and attracting investments to Ukraine will allow us to significantly scale our defense industry.
These steps will enhance both the quality and combat capabilities of the products. It is evident that Ukraine's defense industry is not just a factor in resistance. It is becoming a strategic tool for strengthening national security. Reported by Irina Yusupova, UATV News.
What's your take on all this? Share with us below. This is UATV. Stay sharp, in focus, and stay safe.